undercover police officers passed information to a network who were involved in blacklisting trade unions from construction jobs. Well, one of those who found themselves blacklisted and prevented from working is Dave Smith. He's now one of the core participants in the undercover policing inquiry, which is going on at the moment. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Sarah.
And what was it that you had done that saw you end up on this list?
I was a safety rep for my trade union UCAT, and the companies involved are all the big multinationals that everybody's heard of: Carillion, Sir Robert McAlpine, Balfour Beatty. My safety rep's credentials were added to my blacklist file, and I was sacked. And then pretty much once you're on the list, you get checked up all the time. And my personal file was 36 pages and records every job I worked on in a 10-year period. And essentially, every time I tried to get a job, the companies used to check if your name was against this list. If you was on the list, you basically never got the job, or if you was on the job already, they sacked you.
Okay, and the sort of things, you say 36 pages, I mean, what sort of things were you reporting? Could it, in any sense, have been considered nuisance or difficult?
I'm a trade unionist. The first entry on my file was in 1992 from Balfour Beatty, and that talks about I was involved in a dispute about unpaid wages, several weeks unpaid wages. I complained about asbestos on a job, I complained about overflowing toilets on a job, and that's the kind of thing that they were blacklisting people for.
And what difference did it make to your career?
Oh, instantaneous. You know, I was an engineer. I was sort of semi-management. I was earning good money, and then as soon as you get on the list, essentially your job prospects are done overnight.
Now, of course, the blacklist has been known about for years. What hadn't been confirmed publicly before was that actually police were supplying information to it. But you obviously knew, given some of the information that was coming out.
Well, because the blacklist was raided by the Information Commissioner's Office, which is a government department, you can apply to get copies of your own file. And so people, you know, were getting them in the post. And when we read them, there were parts on it were just obvious. And at my employment tribunal, the head of investigations for the Information Commissioner's Office, an ex-police officer called David Clancy, when he gave evidence, he said that some of the information could only have come from the police or the security services.
Now, there is the undercover policing inquiry going on at the moment, which, you know, its aim is to get to the bottom of what police were doing when they were undercover. You and others walked out earlier this week to make a statement to the Home Secretary because one of the claims is that you've lost faith in it. Why?
This inquiry was set up 3 years ago. It was meant to be completed after 3 years. To this day, it still hasn't heard a single piece of evidence, oral evidence, and none of the documents have been disclosed to any of our lawyers. And what's happening is we've got a new judge in place. His name's Sir John Mittin, and the man, you know, this is in no means meant to be disrespectful. He's clearly very, very, expert as a judge, but his attitudes towards the police and whether this inquiry should be heard in public or in secret are completely at odds with actually getting to the truth for the victims. What's happening is the police, individual police officers, over 150 of them, are applying for anonymity to basically say not only their real names, but their cover names when they were undercover should never be released. There are 1,000 groups, 1,000 political organisations in this country who've been infiltrated by these police officers, and we are being told that we won't even be given their cover names or which organisations they're infiltrated.
You have complained to the Home Secretary, Amber Rudd, about this. The Home Office released a statement this morning saying on the concern about your withdrawal from the inquiry, it's important that core participants continue to engage with the inquiry so that it can learn lessons and get to the truth.
We want to engage. We want to be part of this. We want to engage. This is a major human rights scandal in this country. There's been a lot of concentration on the human interest part of this story, about the spying on the Stephen Lawrence family, about the women activists having long-term relationships with the undercover police officers, which are absolutely scandalous and should never, ever have happened. But what we're also missing is the bigger picture, that these undercover units were not spying on us in order to detect crime. We should knock that on the head straight away. And if anyone raises it, as a journalist, you should put them right. These police
Does
units...
your involvement in the inquiry depend on their names or even their cover names being made public?
Yes. Because otherwise
you will withdraw.
Because otherwise, how will people know that they were victims of what happened? There could be other women out there who've had children by these undercover police officers who will never know unless their cover names are released. And what we need is to... We were told when this first happened that things like this don't happen in this country. They do. There are secret political police units spying on people in this country just because the state disagrees with our politics.
Dave
and
Smith.
That needs to end.
Dave Smith, thank you so much.
18 minutes.